Hi, this is Miss Reiner, and today's video is about colligative properties and solubility curves. Now we're still talking about solutions here, so remember that's a solute dissolved in a solvent that makes a homogeneous mixture. Colligative properties might be a new term to you, but soon you will figure out what they're all about. Alright, so one thing we kind of have to dissect here is what happens when a solute dissolves into a solvent. So for example, salt into water. Does the salt just stay as a whole molecule and just kind of float around? So I have the simulation for you. So this is table salt, sodium chloride. So let's see what happens when salt dissolves in water. So you see the big chunks of salt falling out, but then when they get into the water, they actually break apart into ions. So the sodium and the chlorine molecules separate, and now they go back into the individual pieces. All right, so why is that important? So table salt will break down into ions. This makes something called an electrolyte because it can conduct electricity. It's important to note only ionic compounds can do this. You've probably heard the term electrolyte before when talking about Gatorade or Powerade. They have a lot of electrolytes in it. What that means is there's a lot of salt in those drinks because as you sweat, you lose salt. So they put salt back into your body, which is a necessary component. So only ionic compounds can be electrolytes. Covalent compounds do not break apart into solution. So two examples here. We have calcium chloride is ionic because it has a metal and a nonmetal. So it breaks apart into one calcium and two chlorines. So overall, it breaks down into 3 ions. Carbon dioxide, on the other hand, is a covalent compound because it's 2 nonmetals. So it stays as one piece when it goes into solution. Okay, so what are colligative properties? So mole over here says they are properties of solutions related to the number of particles dissolved in the solutions. So what I said over here was the number of particles floating around will affect things like boiling point and freezing point. So colligative properties, boiling point and freezing point is what we're going to be talking about. So the number of particles is going to affect these. So the more particles, the more effect it will have. Two things you need to note. Boiling point is always going to increase, go up. Freezing point is always going to decrease or go down. So think about it like opposites. So an example, I know this is not really prevalent to what happens here in the winter, but up north in places like New York and Chicago, the roads tend to freeze and causes black ice and lots of accidents. So they put salt down on the roads. Some people think that the salt is warming the roads and that's why the ice melts. But it's actually when the salt makes contact with the ice, it starts to dissolve and break apart into those ions and it lowers the freezing point of water. So it's going to take a lower temperature to freeze. So instead of freezing at 32 degrees Fahrenheit, maybe now it'll freeze at like 15 or 10 degrees Fahrenheit. Another common example, you might have seen this or you might do this yourself. A lot of people salt water before they cook pasta in it. And yes, it does kind of make the pasta a little salty, so for taste. But another benefit is that the salt increases the boiling point of water. This does not mean it boils faster. This actually means it takes longer to boil. But then once it's boiling at a higher temperature, it's going to cook the pasta faster. So the boiling point goes up, freezing points go down. Okay, so if colligative properties are affected by the number of particles, then what type of solute will break apart into more pieces? I feel like we already talked about this. Ionic. So here's three solutes, and I put them in order of least effect to most effect. So right here, this is a sugar molecule. Sugar would have the least effect on the boiling and freezing point. Table salt or sodium chloride will have a slightly higher effect, and then barium chloride will have the highest effect. Why? So sugar, being covalent, is not going to break apart, so it stays as one piece. NaCl breaks apart into two pieces, and BaCl2 will break apart into three. So the more pieces, the higher the effect. So barium chloride is going to raise the boiling point more than the other two, and it's going to lower the freezing point more than the other two. All right, is there a limit to how much solute will dissolve into a solvent? So we kind of talked about this in the last video. So here we have potassium dichromate. So let's see. So if I'm dissolving some of this, it starts to turn a bright orange. It says it's saturated. Well, what if I keep adding more? It's not going to matter. What you will notice is that you start to see extra at the bottom. Remember I said that's the only way you can visually tell you have a saturated solution, is if you keep adding more and it's just going to collect on the bottom. Okay, so this is not super saturated. There's not crystals forming. There's just extra left over. So yes, there is a point to where we can dissolve so much solute. And so we created these solubility curves, and these curves will tell us at what temperature how much of a certain substance can be dissolved. So you see temperatures on the bottom, and then in this case, how many grams of that solute can you dissolve in a certain amount of water or solvent. So this line here represents saturation. So at 90 degrees, we can dissolve 200 grams of potassium nitrate. So that is saturated. Now, you don't always have a saturated solution. So what if you only dissolve 150 grams? So that's under the line. And under the line represents an unsaturated solution. So we know we can continue to add more solvent if necessary. And then in those rare cases, you might be able to dissolve more than what's possible. So above the line would represent supersaturated. So let's do a couple examples. How much solute can be dissolved at 30 degrees Celsius? So we are going to find 30 degrees, and we're going to come up until we hit that line and go over, and that looks about 90, and in this case the unit is kilograms. So roughly 90 kilograms. You say roughly because, you know, the graph's not that great. At what temperature can 120 kilograms be dissolved? So 120, we're going to go over till we hit the line, come down, roughly somewhere between 60 to 70 degrees Celsius. And what type of solution is created when 80 kilograms, so we're going to find 80 kilograms, is dissolved at 40 degrees. So right here, we are below that line. So below the line would represent an unsaturated solution. Thanks for watching.